Protesters in Durham, North Carolina pulled down a Confederate statue yesterday. We have some video of it. Let's watch.
No fascist USA! No cops! No
Okay, keep it real. Regardless of what you think about the situation, they look like a bunch of spazzes when they were like hitting it and stuff and spitting on it. Like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm showing you, Mr. Inanimate Object. Oh, I got you. Like, all right, we get it. The statue's down. Breathe. It's not. It's like it's an inanimate object. The over the top like symbolism. I'm like, woo, woo. Okay, we got it. The statue's down. Don't. Why are you looking like preposterous and silly as you go about doing this? Okay, so. Some facts on it. The monument stood in front of the old Durham County Courthouse for decades. It was dedicated in 1924. Monument's 15 feet high, and it shows an armed, uniformed Confederate soldier. And it says, on the statue, it says, "In memory of the boys who wore the gray." That's the inscription on its granite base. And it also has the Confederate seal. So, now let me get into my take on this, and this is guaranteed to piss off a certain percentage of my audience. There's a pretty strong split in my audience. I could tell from Twitter on where they fall on this one. Here's my thing on it. Look, when I saw the video, I was like, okay, I'm against property damage as a general rule, of course, but when I'm watching it, I'm going, yeah, I can't bring myself to get mad. I can't bring myself to get angry at it. Because of what the fucking thing represents. Now, understand, if they were trying to tear down Confederate regalia in a museum, I would be 100% against them. 100% against them. But I told you, this is in front of a county courthouse. And it's a monument to slave-owning traders who fought a war to protect their right to own human beings. So, I can't bring myself to get mad at it. Now, again, I think they look kind of goofy at the end there when they're doing the kicking and the spitting and stuff, but here's why I couldn't bring myself to get mad at it. I mean, it really is the case that to Black Americans, this is like a statue for Himmler or Goebbels in like a Jewish area. I mean, you could try, no, it's not like that for reasons and stuff, but it really is like that. Yes, the Civil War was fought over slavery. Yes, the South was on the side of keeping slaves. That was the point. And then you have fucking, like, there are still schools named after people who were KKK leaders. That does seem a little fucked up to me. It's like in Germany, if they had, you know, Himmler High. What the fuck is this shit? You can't do that. The next point that people make, and this is a fair point to make, they say, well, hold on now. So if that's your rule, it can't be like, you can't have monuments to slave owners. Well, then what about the founders? The founders owned slaves, and what are we going to do? We're going to tear that down and then just get rid of all of history because we don't like the way that they did stuff back then? And look, my response to that is, I don't think having a general rule of no reverence for slave owners, I really don't think that's a high bar to meet. So, for example, Thomas Paine and John Adams didn't own slaves. Founding fathers didn't own slaves. Maybe there should be a hell of a lot of, monuments to them, and the other ones we kind of tuck away in the bin of history here. Or you replace ones of famous founding slave owners with Abraham Lincoln. You know, something like that. I really don't think it's a very high bar to say, hey, don't revere slave owners, because that's not just like a little thing. Like, whoops! What are you going to do? It's almost like saying, I mean, come on. Overlook the fucking genocide that they did because whatever, you know, they were good people otherwise. Like, and a lot of the responses that I see on this, it almost strikes me as like, so like in Turkey, if you make fun of Ataturk, the founder of Turkey, people act like it's like you blasphemed. Like, how dare you point out negative things about him? That's kind of the response that we get here, too. It's just this, like, rigid nationalism where it's like, but they're our founders. Yeah, but outside of just some sort of goofy, misplaced nostalgia, I think we can be better than that. Now, again, if you want to put it in a museum, totally fine. That's where it belongs. But if you want to have it in front of a fucking courthouse, here are the lawless slave-owning traitors who are now going to put a monument for in front of the courthouse, which is supposed to be the place of law and order. Well, that makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. Now, furthermore, when people make, well, look, the times are different. You can't really judge people in the past based on the standards that we have of today. That's a point that a lot of people will make to defend keeping up, you know, statues like this. And my response is, that's just a form of watered-down cultural relativism. Like, hey, can we really judge people from back then with the standards that we have today? Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. As a general rule, here, I'll make it up right now. Just don't have statues that revere slave owners, pedophiles, you know, child rapists and murderers. Is that really that hard? Like, those are the rules. Outside of that, you know, it's whatever. And virtually all the people who are, like, defending the statues in this instance are people who would agree if somebody like me points out, hey, maybe, you know, for Muslim fundamentalists, it's not really a good idea to, you know, view Muhammad in the way that you do where you think he's flawless and stuff because, hello, he owned slaves. So if I point that out, like, hey, Muhammad owned slaves, so maybe, you know, it's not a good idea to be a Muslim fundamentalist and worship him like he did nothing wrong and act like he's perfect. If I point that out, virtually everybody's going to be like, yeah, this is a good point, you know. Oh, the times are different. I don't give a fuck the times are different. He's a slave owner. It's not that hard to say that's bad. Don't revere that. But then the same people who would agree with me on that point, now when I point out, hey, many of the founders were slave owners, and many of, you know, the Confederate monuments are literally worshiping people because they fought a war to try to keep slaves. Maybe we shouldn't revere that. All of a sudden people go, oh, you want to be politically correct? Is that what you want to do? You want to... No, Again, I don't think it's that high of a bar to say maybe we shouldn't have these monuments that revere slave owners. And in fact, in the case of the Confederate monuments, people who fought a war to try to keep slavery in place. That was the whole point. We want to have the right to own other human beings, so we're going to fight a war over it. You're simply on the wrong side. That is American Nazism. It is like having in a Jewish area statues of Goebbels and Himmler. And if you don't see the connection there, it's because you don't want to see it. Again, just because it's our ancestors, I'm saying that loosely, doesn't mean that therefore we must do apologetics for it and rationalize it and justify it. No. You know, if you want to put this stuff in a museum, great. You want to have fucking statues to them in front of a courthouse? Fuck off. Fuck off with your Robert E. Lee statues, your Jefferson Davis statues. The heritage not hate argument, I get it that there's many people in the South who they look at a Confederate flag and say, no, look, I was raised in, that's heritage not hate, we're not racist at all. I do believe many people in the South when they say that, hey, I don't mean it like that. I mean it heritage not hate, yada, yada. But you don't get to make the heritage not hate argument and then also say, but no, the statue to Robert E. Lee also means heritage and not hate. The statue to Jefferson Davis means heritage not hate, because that is akin to saying our statue to Goebbels means heritage not hate. Our statue to Himmler means heritage not hate. Our statue to Hitler means heritage not hate. Is it so wrong to just see where we came from in the past? So I couldn't bring myself to get mad at it. As a general rule, I'm against property damage, but there are instances where I'm fine with it. For example, if you have like a misplaced war, an offensive war waged against a country that didn't attack us, and somebody does property damage against, for example, a plane that's going to take people to their destination. Let's say you have, nobody's on the plane, no human being gets hurt. But okay, this plane is going to go fight a war that we shouldn't be fighting in Iraq. And you have people disable the plane so it can't fly. Hey, we took a wing off of it. We pulled a wing off of it. I'd say, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. This is a war that shouldn't be fought. It's illegal under international law. There's the killings of hundreds of thousands of innocent people that are happening in the process. This wasn't approved by the UN. It's just wrong. This war is wrong. So if you do property damage, you don't hurt any human beings, but you do property damage to stop more people from going to that war, I can't get mad at that. I just can't get mad at that. By the same token, this is another instance where I just can't get mad at it. You're going to pull down a fucking statue in front of a courthouse that's a monument in reverence to Confederate soldiers who were specifically fighting to maintain slavery. I can't bring myself to get mad at that. And if you are mad at that, I don't know how you brought yourself to that point. So property rights mean that much more to you than everything else that goes hand in hand with this. So again, would you be mad at Jews pulling down a statue to Goebbels in Germany? Because that is what this is akin to. I think we can be better than just having this, like, fundamentalist religious kind of response of, like, why are you doing that? That's, like, our past. And, okay, but why exactly should we revere this person, that person? Let's get into the details of it. And it is fair to say, hey, the Founding Fathers, for example, not talking about the Confederates here, but the Founding Fathers, in many ways, they were brilliant. That's true. That's 100% true. First Amendment, separation of church and state. I mean, checks and balances. This is stuff that is truly revolutionary. First secular government, that's separation of church and state. Like, that stuff, we should absolutely talk about that in a glowing way because it deserves nothing but heaping praise. But that doesn't mean you overlook the gigantic negatives and the slavery and stuff like that. And I think that when we do that, it's just sloppy thinking. And we're not being truly objective and holding ourselves to a moral standard or an ethical standard that we would expect of other people.